Late Night Health continues with our regular contributor, Robert Clancy, the author of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Soul. Is that to the soul or to your soul, Robert?
It's to the soul.
But it should
all
be
souls.
All souls. All souls. We're going to talk today and listen to you talk about achieving your dreams.
Yes. I was thinking the other day of how many things that we do to actually head toward our dreams or things that stop you from them. So my inspirational thought is each day is another chance for you to start living the life you never imagined. And I thought about, big dreams are only achieved through these great accomplishments and things, but you've got to have those dreams to, think of all the things that we've done. We put a person on the moon, we have plans to go to Mars. Somebody had to dream that up. And to achieve your dreams, you just need to, set and work toward those goals that ultimately lead to the big one. And I've always found three essential things: focus, creativity, and perseverance. So dream big.
Can anybody achieve their dreams, Robert, do you think?
I believe so. I mean, I view life as there's nothing impossible. It just matters how much money, time, and how many lives are going to be lost along the way. But, you can pretty much get anywhere you need to. I think anybody's capable.
But what about, everybody says you have a dream, you want to be a rock star. You have to be realistic. How do you combat that?
I don't think you have to be realistic, Mark. That's what a big dream is. I've seen people achieve those types of dreams they just keep working toward it. I remember a health counselor I had. He said, a kid put his hand up and said, "I'll never own a Ferrari." He said, "Sure you will, but you're going to have to do a lot of sacrifices to get there. You're going to have to work probably 3 jobs. You're going to have to, study hard, or you're going to have to find some other way to do it. But you can own that Ferrari, or you can whatever it is." And I always thought about that. That stuck with me. I'm like, he is right. Anything
absolutely.
is possible.
Yeah. Robert, we're out of time, but we look forward to talking to you again next week here on Late Night Health. Late Night Health continues. Our guest is from Autism Speaks. This is Autism Awareness Month. We're going to spend some time with Matt Asner, the Director of Corporate Development for Autism Speaks. And Matt, welcome to Late Night Health.
Thank you. It's nice to be here, and thank you for not making it too late.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you have a blended family, you have so many kids that you must go to bed early.
Well, you know what? I'll put it this way: I go to bed as early as I can.
Gotcha. Gotcha. What we should also mention that your dad is Ed Asner, the actor.
He is.
And
he is, and definitely one of my heroes.
And one of mine as well, and also very active in the autism community.
Well, it's interesting. My dad. I have a half brother named Charlie, and my dad had him when I was in my early 20s. And he was diagnosed with autism when he was about 8. And I remember the phone call. I got a phone call, and my dad said, I got to tell you something. Charlie was diagnosed with autism. And I thought, oh, okay. And I'd seen Rain Man. So I thought, okay, going to wait till he's a little older. I'm going to take him to Vegas, and we're going to make some money. So then you'd realize, it's not that way. It's tough work. It's frustration in school. It's a lot of hard work. And then probably about another 10 years later, I was sitting in a doctor's office hearing that my own son was being diagnosed with autism. And let me tell you, nothing prepares you for that moment. Nothing.
What went through your mind at that time when the doctor told you your child has autism?
Well, autism is a spectrum disorder. So, Charlie is definitely on one side of the spectrum. He's very high functioning, very intelligent, wildly intelligent. And my son would probably be in the lower middle side of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time of his diagnosis, he was nonverbal. And I was sitting there, and the doctor told me that you have to prepare yourself He's never going to graduate high school. He's never going to live on his own. He's never going to. He really probably won't be able to hold a job. And you sit there listening to this, and the doctor's just basically taking your hope away. And it's
without hope, what is there?
There is nothing without hope. Hope is the essential ingredient of life. And when you have all hope taken away, you can't function. And so I kind of wandered around for a year, not knowing what I was doing, with my head in the sand. I just didn't know what to do. I was so depressed. And I wandered into a walk, an Autism Speaks walk, and it just changed my life. So that's I started volunteering for them, and I ended up leaving a successful partnership film company, and ended up working for Autism Speaks. That's what I do now. I
was going to ask you if the film acting producing bug was also genetic. Apparently it is. Is autism thought to be genetic? I
would say so. I would most decidedly say so. I think it's a combination of genetics and the environment, and that's what we're seeing.
We're going to be talking about the Fresh Brothers Pizza celebration of Autism Speaks during this month, and we'll be mentioning, I guess, if you buy a pizza from them guys, they'll make a contribution to Autism Speaks. Is that not?
Well, there's a couple of ways this works, and it's really cool. And by the way, they make, like, I honestly think they make the best pizza in Los Angeles. So this is how it works. You call and you order a pizza, and they say, do you want to make a donation? You make a donation. You go in, you order a pizza. They say, do you want to make a donation to Autism Speaks? You make a donation. There's also cash jars there, so you can put your cash in there. And the really cool thing is on every Wednesday, if you mention Autism Speaks, they give 20% back of your order to Autism Speaks. So that's really a cool thing.
That really is. What's surprising to me is they're the only restaurant in L.A. that's doing this.
Well, a lot of the restaurants that we're partnered with are kind of Midwest, East Coast restaurants.
Right.
And so, we Fresh Brothers was, Tao is another West Coast, kind of restaurant.
Right.
They're in Vegas. But Fresh Brothers are the main, partner here in Southern California. And, they have, I think, 13 stores here in Southern California. We're just about to be 14.
Wow.
And they're just a great partner, and I'm really proud and happy to have them on board.
And, of course, if you're listening any place in the country or the world on the Internet, let people know about Autism Speaks. Autism is I guess it's devastating to the family at first, but I know a lot of people who have autistic kids who are, as you said, high functioning.
Yeah. Who
are employed, who live outside the house. And
I'll tell you, it's called a spectrum disorder for a reason. On one side, you have kids and individuals that are low functioning, considered low functioning, that maybe have difficult time communicating. Maybe they communicate through an iPad or a facilitated, communication device. Then you get further down the spectrum. You have kids that are they can communicate through speech, but they have some cognitive deficiencies or shortcomings. Then later on, you get further down the spectrum, and all the way at the other end of the spectrum, you have like a CEO of a major corporation.
Right, and we've talked to at least one in the last 4 years.
Yeah, and they probably grew up with some issues that they needed to deal with, and they were able to adapt and to motivate themselves into a situation where it paid off for them. But there are a lot of individuals who need help. You mentioned employment. There's an 80% unemployment rate for people with autism.
Wow.
And there's a tremendous housing shortage. Like in Texas, if you go to Texas, there is a 15-year waiting list for housing in Texas.
Oh my!
So it's
for specialized housing.
For specialized housing, yeah. For and it's a potential disaster for families. The average cost per household for a family that has autism, it is $50,000 a year. That's a lot of extra money.
It really is. And we're going to be talking about your personal family because your family's known as the Brady Bunch of autism.
Well, yeah, I mean, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, we'll talk about that. Daryl had a question for you.
No, I was going to make a comment about the functionality. My first wife's brother was autistic. I met him when he was 17, and he was obsessed with dead rock stars.
Sure.
And he would say, Jimi Hendrix is dead. I said, yeah, Mike, you're right, he is. And also Jim Morrison's dead as well, yeah. And he would just kind of go over this list of these iconic rock stars that had passed away. But he and his father built a 2-story home together in Big Bear Lake, where I believe Mike still lives. Wow. And, talking about not really being able to communicate that well, but he was articulate about what he knew, and he was certainly able to work with his father to build a house.
Which is something that would be far beyond my...
me, yeah.
I couldn't do it.
I couldn't build a house either.
No, I have trouble turning on a light switch oftentimes.
My brother said he's got 2 things in his toolbox, a hammer and a credit card.
There you go.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Matt Asner is our guest. He's the Director of Corporate Development for Autism Speaks. April is Autism Awareness Month, and that's why we're talking to him. Let's talk about the Brady Bunch of autism for a moment. You explained that to us a little bit before we started the show. Can you tell us about your family?
Sure. I met my wife. She called me actually. I was neighbors with her brother a while back, and we became very good friends. And when her youngest son was diagnosed with autism, she called me up at his urging, and we spoke for a while and became friends. She volunteered for the organization, and we became friends. And we both went through divorces at the same time, and we just kind of looked at each other one day and realized that we couldn't live without each other. And, she has 4 kids from a previous marriage. I have 2 kids from a previous marriage. And it was really, honestly, like the Brady Bunch. We have a blended family. We all live under one roof. We do get a little bit of respite because our kids go out with our exes 50% of the time, which is great because we have date nights a couple times a week. But it is like the Brady Bunch. It's a blended family, and it's oddly enough a lot of fun.
Out of the 6 children, how many have autism?
3.
Wow.
And what's funny is we are really representative of the spectrum. I mean, we have one one child that's extremely high functioning, like a savant with music, extremely high functioning. And we go kind of all the way through the spectrum with those 3 kids.
Wow. I just want to remind anybody who's living in the Southern California area that Fresh Brothers Pizza is supporting Autism Speaks. Go in, find out how your purchase of a pizza for dinner can help Autism Speaks. All right, Matt and I will be back along with the insane Daryl Wayne here on Late Night Health. Don't go away. More coming up. Be sure to visit us at latenighthealth.com. There'll be a whole story about Autism Speaks, picture of Matt perhaps, and some other information so that you can get involved. All right, we will be back. Don't go away. More coming up as Late Night Health continues.